The North Carolina Motor Speedway at Rockingham, and today is running a race 2 in the NASCAR Busch Series for the year 2000, the Alltel 200. It is a beautiful day for racing. It's t-shirt weather, and it's hard to believe that 20 inches of snow stood here just a little more than a month ago. It's not winter in the Carolinas. It is a beautiful spring day. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Joy. In 1991, I had the pleasure to welcome you to TNN's coverage, and I'm proud to kick off our 10th season of NASCAR racing here on TNN. Well, the Rockingham Motor Speedway, what a great place it's been for fellas like, we call it Markingham, don't we now, Buddy Baker?
It is.
For Mark Martin.
It is that. Out of 187 races in Busch Grand National, he's won 40 times, 10 of them here at Rockingham. The reason for that, he's almost perfect on the throttle. He balances his car well, and if somebody starts to set a pace that he don't like, he'll just pull over and let them go. Very heads-up driver.
Well, it first became Markingham, well, quite a few years ago. It was back in the 1980s when Martin won his first Busch race. He has 10 wins here, the first of which came in this car in 1988. That was his 4th career Busch Series win, his first of 10 at the Rock, and today he goes for win number 41 in the NASCAR Busch Series in what he says will be his final season of Busch racing. After the year 2000, he'll concentrate solely on Winston Cup. It's amazing any one driver would win 10 races at one speedway, but Larry McReynolds, who's the crew chief for Mike Skinner in the Winston Cup Wars on Sunday, at this racetrack to win 10. This is a tough place to tame.
Well, one thing about Rockingham, the cars change, the drivers change, but one characteristic that does not change about this racetrack is how abrasive it is. It just eats the tires up, grinds the rubber right off. Goodyear continues to try to make a tire that will live here. Sometimes in the long run, these cars will slow down almost 2 seconds, and that's a lot when you figure they're only running 60 or 70 laps on a fuel run. But the thing you got to do, you got to take care of those tires in the beginning. You may run fast in the beginning, but that make you slow for the end of a run. So it's almost like the tortoise and the hare.
Well, how long will those runs be? Do you assess the length of a run on the performance of your car or your car against everyone else's?
Well, the thing you got to do, Mike, you can't let somebody come in there and get those fresh tires and be beating you 1.5 to 2 seconds of the lap. It's 26 seconds around here. It don't take long for that to add up. So once people start committing to pit road to change tires, you can't be far behind them.
It's going to be a game of checkers at 160 miles an hour, and the pieces will be those tires. They'll be all important today. We're racing at the Rock after this. We're at the North Carolina Speedway in Rockingham for race 2 in the Busch Series in the year 2000. Nice crowd on hand here, and just a beautiful day for racing. Today's race is 200 miles, 197 laps. 43 cars, 36 time trialers, and 7 provisional starters. Remember, last year qualifying was rained out for this race. Mark Martin, big surprise, holds the race record. And you see the pit window there. They can go 100 laps on fuel, but as Larry said, the question mark is going to be how long will they run on a set of tires. 19 different winners in 33 Busch Series races that we've had here at the Rock. Boy, some big names had to go home. Last week's pole sitter, Hut Strickland. Kevin Harvick, who finished in the top 5 at Daytona, this was a tough show to make.
And Ward Burton, he's won here, so that was a hard field to make here. If you just slip one time, Larry, you were out of it.
Well, that's the thing. You only had one round of qualifying, so, you had one shot, and that was it.
Let's go trackside. Scott Ford, the CEO and president of Alltel, will give the command to get this race underway.
Hey, race fans! All right, gentlemen, please start your engines!
We'll be back to take you through the starting lineup for the Alltel 200 at Rockingham. Welcome back to Rockingham. Some raucous fans getting a suntan and getting ready for some NASCAR Busch Series action today and Winston Cup racing tomorrow at the Rock. Nice crowd on hand, filling the front stretch grandstand and down through turn 1 and out even around turn number 2. Buddy, look at how packed that infield is, and they don't even let fans in the infield anymore. That's all competitors and folks who work in the sport. Yeah,
well, you can see all the trucks and everything along here, and this is actually the competitors parking out in there.
So let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's Alltel 200. Mark Martin has won here 10 times, as we said, one from the pole last fall. David Green had the qualifying record till yesterday. Jeff Green, last fall's runner-up, and Jeff Burton, who won this race in '99. Casey Atwood's in row 2 next to Blaze Alexander, Chad Chaffin from Nashville, and Kenny Wallace. Bobby Hamilton Jr. back there in row 5 with Mark Green. In row 6, rookie Jason Leffler and rookie Gus Wasson from Ohio. Row 7 is Elton Sawyer and Hermie Sadler from Virginia. Row 8, Michael Rich and Jason Keller from the Carolinas. In row 9, Californian Jimmy Johnson and Wisconsin's Jay Sauter, both rookies. Row 10, Hank Parker Jr. and Anthony Lazaro, the rookie from Georgia. Row 11, Kevin Grubb from Virginia and Winston Cup Kevin LePage from Vermont. In row 12, Tony Raines from Indiana and North Carolina's Mike Dillon. In row 13, 2 rookies. Rookies. P.J. Jones, road race veteran, and Ron Hornaday, Truck Series champ. Lyndon Amick from South Carolina and Matt Kenseth, the Daytona winner. Dick Trickle from Wisconsin and Dave Steele, the rookie from Florida. In row 16, Buckshot Jones from Georgia and Tim Fedewa from Michigan. Row 17, twice champion of the division, Randy LaJoie from Connecticut, and New York State's Mike McLaughlin. In row 18, from New York, Todd Bodine, and Indiana's Kenny Irwin. In row 20, the rookie from Connecticut, Mike Borkowski, and Jeff Purvis of Tennessee. Then it's Michigan's Phil Parsons, and from Texas, Bobby Hillen. From the Carolinas, Justin Labonte and Adam Petty, and Missouri's Tony Roper fills out the field. We're going to have 8 TNN onboard cameras today. Jeff Purvis starting 38. Here's a look from his number 4. Rolling off 30th is Dave Steele, his number 82. And from Dick Trickles, TNN onboard cam, starting 29th, car number 5. And Matt Kenseth, the Daytona winner, goes 28th today in car 17. Rookie Jimmy Johnson goes 17th, car number 92. And Kenny Wallace, car number 25, the Ed Renzi car, starting 8th. And from the second row, we'll ride with Jeff Green in car number 10, starting 3rd. And from the pole, with nothing out front but the pace car, Mark Martin, his number 64, from the pole. Big list of drivers who did not make the show. We touched on some of them earlier. There were 11 drivers who tried but could not make the field here at the Rock. Let's check with Glenn Jarrett.
Well, Mike, the tire rule today here at Rockingham is 3 sets per caution. And that means that they can change tires 3 times under caution without any penalty. There is no penalty for changing tires under green. You do not want to do that, though, if you can help it at Rockingham. Tire wear management is the key thing, so they've got 3 sets. Here's Ralph Sheen.
Glenn, I spoke to Kenny Wallace just at driver introductions this morning. He told me he's a little bit under the weather, not feeling too good today, but he said the one thing is once you get in the race car and it starts going around the track, you get a little sweat going, your adrenaline starts pumping. Buddy, as you know, you tend to forget about how bad you feel.
That's true, and one thing about it, if the car runs well, you're not sick anymore.
Well, Buddy's breaking a little sweat up here, and I can see his voice is sounding better. That cold's going away, so we're set to go.
You know, what I'm interested to see as they start the race here, we started seeing it this morning in the Winston Cup practice. This is one of the few racetracks where it actually has 2 to 3 racing grooves. You'll see cars start to move up and start running that upper lane. Sometimes the fastest way around is the bottom, but sometimes it's a lot easier on the tires up top.
Pace car pulls in, they'll get the green this time.
For 200 miles in the Alltel 200. We are under green, and Mark Martin just rocking it away from David Green on the start.
Jeff Green got a great start there in the yellow car. In second right now, chasing Mark Martin as they head off turn 2.
3 Green brothers in this field. And a raft of rookies. Buddy, what a place to start your career.
Well, one thing they'll do, they'll leave here a veteran if they make it all the way through the 200 laps, because most of the time you'll make a mistake in the first 15, 20 laps. As the tires start going away, you'll make a brave move, and all of a sudden you'll meet that Rockingham wall right about there off turns 2.
The thing about this tire, buddy, you got to take care of it. If you ever abuse it, if you start messing with lap traffic or racing somebody hard, till you put 4 fresh ones on there, they will not come back and do you good.
Casey Atwood Atwood working mid-pack on the 63 of Mark Green.
Mark Green has the preferred line right there, but the second lane is getting a little bit quicker. But you see Casey Atwood, he realized, hey, I'm up here where they don't have a lot of rubber on the racetrack. I better get back down there and take care of these tires right now and run the low side.
Well, that settles 7th place. Mark Martin has now led his 19th Busch Series race in 24 starts. He's led over 1,500 laps at this track in the Busch Series.
And that number 9 there, a lot of people don't really realize, because I looked at the car, I didn't equate it to being who it was, you know. I looked and I said, well, I know, let's see. And all of a sudden I realized he's the winner last year in this particular race.
Lead change, Jeff Green puts it past Mark Martin, and he's going to drag Big Brother with him.
I better say Jeff Burton. The people at home are going, who's he talking about? But Jeff Burton in that 9 has a new paint job this year, and I didn't recognize the car right off.
The new sponsor, NorthernLight.com, has come on board. Well, the Green brothers came to the front. Larry, did Mark let him go?
I just sitting here thinking about this. You know, it's I know people say, well, that's big. Hart went from first to third in one corner, but I just believe with all my heart he's led his race now. He sees what his car's doing. He's going to fall back there a little bit. And again, we keep talking about it. I don't mean to wear it out, but it's the big story here, taking care of those tires.
Well, what he does, he'll go out on the tires that are worn out completely and run around there, and then he'll put new tires on to see the difference. And he'll equate that and try to get a pace that he can keep those tires fairly fresh without wearing them completely out in a hurry.
Jeff Green at the point, looking for a season turnaround, ended up on his lid at Daytona. Watch Casey Atwood leading Chad Chaffin, who also got caught up in one of the 2 big wrecks of the day with Hut Strickland. Strickland failed to qualify for today's race. Chaffin there in 77, the red car. And there's Jay Sauter on the inside making the move, and here comes Todd Bodine past Anthony Lazzaro in that McDonald's car, which is faded a bit back on the outside. And here comes Hornaday in the 3.
Ron Hornaday down under, make a little contact as they start off turns 2 there. But that's pretty normal for Hornaday. He's a lot like his boss there, Dale Earnhardt. He'll put that wood to you if you cut him down there.
But I think at the same time, you know, the 97 car, possibly the spotter, you know, didn't tell him to hold his line, car inside, and he just come down on Hornaday though over turn 2.
Remember, Lazzaro in 97 is running in his first ever NASCAR Busch Series event, and he's got his first donut courtesy of Hornaday.
Yeah, and there's the past winner, Randy LaJoie in the number 1 car there. When you get outside, you can see you just start working your way towards the rear. Everybody on the bottom started pulling away from him.
Well, like you said, buddy, Lazzaro he needs to have a clean day, finish this race, and get 200 laps or 197 laps under his belt, and that'll be a good debut.
Absolutely.
Watching the 1 car there, Randy LaJoie started 33rd. I talked to him this morning in the Winston Cup garage. He had been like in the top 10 all throughout practice, and what he felt like happened, and this is real important for any kind of qualifying effort, they didn't get their whole oil hot enough, and that takes a lot of power away from the car, and ended up qualifying 33rd.
Let's show you again what happened with Ron Hornaday and Anthony Lazzaro.
Okay, Hornaday's in the 3. You see him completely under the white line there, and the 97 starts down to Lazzaro. They make contact there, but that's not anything you don't do. You can't go any further down. If you get all 4 on the flat, you're done.
11 laps complete. Jeff Green is the leader. Oldest of the 3 brothers, David Green, is second. Mark Martin, Jeff Burton, Kenny Wallace here at the North Carolina Speedway. 11 laps complete. We'll be right back. New leader here at Rockingham, it is David Green, who clinched his Busch Series championship at this track. I'll show you what happened as he took the lead from youngest brother Jeff. All 3 Greens are running in the top 10. Happened on lap 12.
And that 34 has always been a contender on a mile racetrack. Back when Todd Bodine drove it for Frank CC, it's always been a great car.
David's finished 5th here 3 times, looking for his first win. And you see the Mark Martin has moved back up to 2nd place.
This could be very well a case. Maybe use those tires up and the chassis going away here after 15 laps. And I tell you, once it goes away, it can be the most miserable thing in the world for a driver and a crew to watch your car just continue to go backwards because the handling's gone away.
Yeah, and you guys saying, I told you not to use those tires up. Now you got to live with it.
Well, I know racing's all about going fast, but in practice this morning, Winston Cup practice, I kept telling Mike, you know, float that thing down in the corner. I think that's where you got to be easy with the car, is getting down in the corner, and you beat people at Rockingham normally off the corner.
Let's check with Glenn Jarrett on 3rd place driver Jeff Green.
Well, Larry, you hit the nail right on the head with Jeff Green. His car is tight from the center off. That's why he has dropped back. He's trying to slow down, work a different groove, cool the tires down to see if he can indeed get that car to where it will come off the corners, because you're exactly right. That's where you beat him. While we're talking about Jeff, Mike, you said it, all 3 Green brothers in the top 10. They started that way. It's only the 2nd time in the history of the series since they've been running the series that they've all started in the top 10.
Mike, you see Mark Martin in 2nd place right there. Unique paint job on this car. He has all 40 wins and checkered flags all the way down the middle part of the car, on the hood and on the trunk there, and they're all listed as to where he's won the 40 races at. You can see the checkered marks there on the front and rear of the car.
Yeah, and the bad news about that is there are some of those white checks that are still blank. They've got room for more. That's bad news for the rest of this field.
Yes, and he will fill them up before the year's up. You can count on that.
You notice right there, Mark's working right around the white line, and I guarantee he's one of the guys you probably won't see go up to the top of the racetrack. He's about a half a lane lower than David Green there.
Coming around to complete 20 laps of 197 here at the Rock. David Green, Mark Martin, Jeff Green, Jeff Burton, new colors since he won here, and Kenny Wallace. Go back in the pack and pick up this battle.
Don't do it. You see him start 4 wide down the front straightaway. There's not room going into that corner for 4 cars side by side.
That battle's for 21st spot. 21 is Mike Dillon on the inside with 66 Todd Bodine. And Bodine gets into Parker. Hank Parker Jr. may have to call out the Marines on Todd Bodine.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. That was a wreck that didn't happen right there. That should have been a huge wreck, and all these guys behind him there, I'm sure, just got a big breath just then. Great job by Hank Parker Jr. in the 53 there. How he saved that car, I don't know.
And I tell you, it's awfully early in the race, 21 laps into it, for these guys to be racing this hard using their equipment up.
Look at some of the movers and shakers in the first 20 laps, including Jeff Purvis and Jay Sauter, who've moved up. And now, trying to get underneath Todd Bodine, where there's hardly room to do so, is Tony Raines in 33.
I'm not sure this isn't something we need to keep an eye on. That's about the 2nd or 3rd time I've noticed that they're running awful close. As a matter of fact, they'll contact a couple of times there. I'm sure they don't mean to do it, but where Todd is really strong, Parker's not going, and they're making a little contact.
You're looking at Ron Hornaday, Napa number 3.
Now, see, that's what I'm used to seeing right there. I'm a little higher when I was out there running, but that makes me a little homesick when I get that close to another car. I want to be out there having a little bit of fun.
Riding with Jeff Purvis. Picks up the throttle.
If you notice right there, as they went off into turn 1, Hornaday carried a lot more momentum getting in the corner, but it looked like because of that, Purvis was able to beat him back to the gas there. There you see Purvis working on the high side there.
If you keep driving hard into the corner, you have to give up the center part of the corner. And the longer you make that straightaway, when you pick the throttle up, the better off you are in long runs on the tire.
And just to update, Todd Bodine has completed his pass of Hank Parker Jr., and he took Tony Raines with him. So Parker works the inside, and you can now see Purvis thought better of it that time. It doesn't sound good.
Sounded like it was missing there about 2/3 of the way up the backstretch, and he looks like he's continuing to lose ground. I believe he does have a motor problem.
He's waving his arms. He's off the base.
You can hear it skipping.
So Jeff Purvis, reach over, maybe try that other ignition, see if he can get going again, but he continues to lose ground to the field.
This is almost like deja vu. I think I'm right in saying he had one of the strongest cars here in October and developed almost a similar problem, ignition problem.
I'm not sure that's ignition. Well, we won't try to analyze it. There's people in the pits will let us know if he does stop.
That team has switched to Pontiac sheet metal for the 2000 season, and now he's just riding it. down to the inside, and will likely, well, we'll see if he comes in or stays out.
And I'm sure people say, well, why don't he come to pit road? His hopes is that a caution will come out and he can come to pit road under caution.
David Green leads Mark Martin, Jeff Green, Jeff Burton, and Kenny Wallace. Matt Kenseth started 28. He's up to 17. We'll be right back. Race into the all-new official store of NASCAR. NASCAR Thunder now opens in cities everywhere. For locations and more, call 615-883-7000 weekdays. David Green leads Mark Martin, as you see there, about to lap Adam Petty, and Jeff Purvis has brought his Pontiac to pit road.
Mike, a guy jumped inside there like it might be ignition. They're working on the left side. They're trying to find the problem. As of yet, they have not cleared the problem up for Jeff Purvis.
Up front, Mark Martin tracks David Green.
And Mark, you can hear backing off way early down the straightaway there. Sets up, gets underneath the 42 car there. Just motoring around there.
For more on Mark, here's Ralph.
Well, Mark Martin's been doing exactly what you need to do to win here at Rockingham. He's been waiting for the car to come around. The car was very tight early on. He waited for the car to get better. It's coming around, and you can see he's improving on the racetrack. He moves to the front.
He's out front, Ralph. Mark Martin has retaken the lead.
Now, I want to add to the car being tight there in the beginning. What we do here with the air pressure at Rockingham, we lower it just as low as we can because it builds so much pressure here. And sometimes on low air pressure, the car will have a different balance characteristics. Either it'll be real tight or real loose till the air pressure builds up.
For the guys that are watching back home that race on Saturday nights, you could watch Mark Martin, what he just did there. He let David Green go in, move the lap car up, and when he killed his momentum, he just stood back in the throttle and just drove under Green off the corner there without any effort whatsoever to take the lead again.
A couple of laps ago, they tried to go 3 wide into turn number 1. Professor Baker of the Buck Baker Driving School here at Rockingham, I'll have you explain to us why this doesn't work. Here's a look at it. That's Bobby Hamilton Jr., left side of your screen.
Well, he's on the outside there, and it's obvious it's 3 wide. You can see him get in the high groove there, and he's flirting with that wall. Whether he hit it or not, I'll guarantee you one thing. He was pulling his right leg towards the steering column right there because he thought he was going to get it.
Hamilton recovered and is now in 22nd position. He lost about 4 spots as Hermie Sadler went way low under Kevin LePage going into turn 1 there. Sadler came out of that with 15th, LePage 16th.
Well, Mike, now the good cars start really coming to the top of the order sheet here because the tires are getting very, very slick. The racetrack itself, you're not getting the bites you had at the first, and you make an error so easily right now, and you can't recover because the car slides more.
Here's your field standing update brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. In the upper left of your screen, Napa, we keep America running. And Mark Martin about to lap some pretty good cars here.
And this is where it's important. This is where he prevails so much, is working these lap cars on 40-lap tires. You just, as I said earlier, you can't abuse them here. You've got to pick and choose where you pass them and who you're passing and not get in too big a hurry.
You're watching from Dick Trickle. And
looking back at Justin Labonte there. Terry says he's going to let him drive it most of the year this year, and Justin is only 19 years old, so he's got a bright future, and he does it. I think as far as watching Bobby and Terry both, I think he has some talent to go right on up the scale and should be in Winston Cup in just a few years.
He and Trickle are racing for 31st position. And the man on the move has just cracked the top 10. That is Matt Kenseth.
Yes, and he won this race. He passed Tony Stewart with about 80 yards to go to the finish here a couple of years back to win his first Busch Grand National race. So he knows how to win, and I think he's been taking care of the car also.
He has come from 28 to 10.
As close as the competition is, that's hard to do in Busch, Winston Cup, or any division in NASCAR.
And especially here where tire management is key. Look at those names bottom of your screen. Getting to the front, did they use up too much tire too soon? That's a question will be answered here in a little bit. Bouncing off the wall was P.J. Jones.
Yeah, and he's the current leader in points, but he is not going to run the full schedule. Matt Kenseth and he won in Daytona, and he, you know, he could win here. And that'd be a tough thing to say. I'm leading in points, and I'm not going to run all the races.
We've completed 43 of 197 laps. Mark Martin leads David and Jeff Green, Jeff Burton, and Kenny Wallace. They need to open another lane at the checkout here going down into turn 1 because Mark Martin is not having a lot of luck fighting his way through the lap traffic. It was Justin Labonte just ahead of him. You see the 44, the Slim Jim car. And Mark has just not been able to find a way by him because he's been racing those other cars.
Yeah, but you can see those guys really fighting the steering wheel. The back of the cars are starting to dance quite a bit off the corner.
Ralph?
Mike, the spotters are really loose, or really worried about the loose car of Justin Labonte, the number 44. They've been radioing down to David Green, telling him, be patient, follow Mark through here. Let's get around the 44 and then go racing again.
Well, Justin was trying hard to stay on the lead lap, and right now he just doesn't have the combination to do that as Mark Martin tries to put Bobby Hill in a lap down.
You know, when you get so loose you're turning right to go left, you know you're too loose to be out there, and he did a very smart thing by just getting out of the way of the leaders and letting them go as David Green takes over the lead again.
You know, I was just sitting here thinking, you know, what would I do if I was Mark Martin's crew chief here? You definitely look like you got one of the best cars in the field today. And one thing I do want to point out, Mark's last lap was about 135, 136 miles an hour. They've slowed down almost 7 miles an hour from when they started this race, just to show you how it's give up. But, you know, we've talked about tire management, but if I'm the crew, what I'm trying to do now, after 50 laps, well over halfway through this run, I'm trying to get a feel for what the race car is doing, because Rockingham, no matter if your car is good, you have to keep making changes. This racetrack gets tighter and tighter as the day goes on, and you want to find out just how low you can drop those air pressures and not affect the balance too much, where they won't build up so much pressure, because they almost become like basketballs. The more air pressure they get, that really upsets the car.
You see Kenny Wallace trying to bust his way through this lap traffic. Kenny in the Lance Next 25. Larry, you've left your driver out there for 50 laps. How much longer do you let him run? We've had 50 green flag laps now.
Well, you know, people's going to be watching the top 3 or 4 cars. You know, they're the one that's going to dictate, should it stay green, should a caution not come out. They're going to be the one that dictates when everybody hits pit road, and they can kind of wait it out. You know, they can afford to wait a little longer, but if they hit pit road, any of those top 4 or 5 guys, the guys that's back in the field, they can't give up that ground.
Buddy, this is a great place to watch when you have green flag pit stops, because you give a driver 4 tires and you give him that Superman cape when he comes back out.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty easy with the good grip and everything in the corner. But these guys right now are just really being very patient. David Green goes by. Mark Martin, you can see, does not take any extra chances getting off in the corner there. He just rolled out. And Justin Labonte's smart enough to say, hey, they're making a hole for me to ride through. I'm going to follow these cars through.
I tell you, another thing that changed pit strategy here last fall was we went to a single pit road here at Rockingham. When you have to run 35 miles an hour, the length of this pit road has almost doubled. So that means while you're in there getting tires, the downside of pitting early, does the caution come out and burn you sitting in the pits? That's the downside. So you got to be careful not to pit too soon.
And the reason for that's the amount of time you spend getting off the racetrack, coming down pit road, getting back up to speed, and the time you sit in there, you lose 2 or maybe 3 laps.
It's going to equate to that much, and should you lose that many laps, yeah, you're going to be running quick. Downside caution comes out.
Well, let's find out more from the leader's pit. Here's Ralph.
Well, Jay Guy is the crew chief for David Green. Jay, when are you going to pit, and what are you going to do when you bring him down?
We're going to probably pit in about 20 laps. We're just going to put 4 tires on and some gas, and no major adjustments. We're real neutral right now in the car, so we're just going to fill her up and go again.
We've heard some of the drivers talking about how the track has surprised them a little bit and how the cars are handling today. Are you seeing any of that?
Well, with the experience that David's got, it's hard to miss a setup that bad here at Rockingham.
He clinched his Busch Series championship here. He knows the track well.
I tell you, the information he got right there, that's something you really want to hear from your driver here at Rockingham. The car's a little neutral. That means it's not really loose. The back end's not wanting to come around, but it's not pushing, and that's something good to hear.
Here's the first of pit stops. Chad Chaffin is in, and a lap ago we saw Casey Atwood almost go straight to the wall in turn number 1. He managed to get control of the car and get going again.
If you were talking about Casey, he was in big trouble. He dropped back in the field quite a bit because the car is not balanced. And like you said, neutral means that the rear and the front are giving up the safe. So So when the grip is that good, what do you change? Nothing. You give him tires and let him go.
That's about all you can do, because the next set of tires may act just a little different. So you got to keep adjusting, but you can't over-adjust.
Now, number 8, Bobby Hillen's just gotten back on the lead lap. So David Green, the leader, number 34, has backed up his race pace a bit. Hillen's just gotten back around it. For more on pit strategy, here's Glenn.
Well, I'm in Mark Martin's pits, and this is Tony Lambert, his crew chief. Tony, 2 things, if you will. Number 1, you run about 60 laps now. How long can you go on those tires, and what's Mark saying about the car?
Well, on the tires, we're just letting him tell us to call on that. And right now, he said the car is neutral, and he's doing what he's doing.
Well, which is what Mark Martin always does, is run up front here. But as long as that car is neutral, and I think you can talk about this, Larry, he'll stay out there as long as he possibly can. He is the best at conserving these tires in this Busch Series.
Well, there's no question when it's neutral, the car will go longer on tires.
Second driver to stop is the Stanley Pontiac of Tim Fedowa. That's the second of our runners under pit road. We've completed 60 laps, all of them under the green flag here at Rockingham. Check out NASCAR online before, during, and after the race. On the web at NASCAR.com, it's your 24-hour garage pass. We've had more green flag pit stops as Mark Martin has the lead back from David Green. Let's show you how that occurred.
Okay, Chad Chaffin in 77 there has fresh tires. You think it makes a difference? I guess so. As they come along, though, David Green sees Martin on the outside in the 60, just moves over and lets him go. A lot of racing to go yet.
All right, Kevin LePage has made his pit stop. Hank Parker Jr., Buckshot Jones, and Kenny Irwin have all stopped. We're now at 66 laps.
You know, I think if you're Mark Martin or David Green's crew chief, what you're telling these guys, don't battle each other right now. It's too early in the race. You're just going to use your equipment up. Now what they'll have to contend with is the cars that have pitted under green got 4 fresh. We call them snuggies, because that's what they feel like, I think, is 4 snuggies, 4 fresh tires. They've got to contend with those cars running almost probably 2 seconds quicker coming up on them.
It's hard to believe, Larry, but just saw one car that got fresh tires 2 laps ago pass 4 cars. Buckshot Jones did. In one corner, he passed 4 cars.
And it makes a big difference. Now the leader's down to running 135, 134 miles an hour. So we're getting close to almost 10 miles an hour slow from where they was running when this race started.
Michael Rich and Todd Bodine. Here's Todd making pit stops. So that's 7 contenders have stopped under green.
And their crew chiefs, what they're going to do when they leave pit road, you sit there the whole time, please don't have a caution come out. If you see a car get sideways, your heart goes up through your throat.
Done after 4 tires. Now they can change all the tires they want under the green flag. They're only limited to tire changes under caution. 70 laps complete. And battle for 10th place, Jason Leffler battling 63 of Mark Green. And here's what happened a couple laps ago.
This is going off into turn 1. The car's starting to slide around. There you see he got loose getting into 1, and he just taps and says, I'm sorry, I'm going on my way.
What are you laughing for?
I'm laughing because Jason Leffler's not used to having fenders on his tires. That's a luxury for him. He don't mind putting it up against you.
Jason Keller is on pit road, and Casey Atwood is in as well as these green flag pit stops continue. Mike McLaughlin in 48 there, the Gould's Pumps machine going a lap down to the Winn-Dixie Ford of Mark Martin. And the Stork is still circling the McLaughlin motorhome down there.
Boy, I tell you what, I saw her in Daytona. It's time.
Actually, they thought the baby might come last week because both of Katie's prior kids came early, but Mike says she's not officially due until the 13th of March.
She looks officially due.
That Stork is going to get tired, I'll tell you.
Talking about Justin Labonte in the 44 there, he is still running right behind Mark Martin. So he wasn't as bad off as people. He's still twitching a little bit. But he found out that he follows a good car and finds out where to back off. There's an art getting around this racetrack, and he follows Mark Martin. He's not overrunning the corners. He really picked that car up quite a bit.
You see Mark putting Randy LaJoy down lapping out. And Randy was happy with his car in the final practice yesterday, but it just goes to show, starting back in the pack, it just hurts you from the very beginning. It can bite you, and you'll go a lap down in a hurry, especially when you got a car working as good as Mark Martin's.
David Steele and Mike McLaughlin. Now that he goes a lap down, he comes in for 4 tires. And let's get an update from David Green's pit.
Mike, this is a really tricky time for David Green right now because he desperately needs to come down and get those new tires. The car is getting really loose in the corners, but he's trying to stay out there with Mark Martin as long as he can. But it looks like he's going to have to pick either this lap or the next one because he is really starting to get loose in the corners now.
A little bit of a miscue on the Steele pit stop. He started to take off, and they had to retighten some lug nuts on the right rear, and now he's away.
Well, let's talk a little bit. The people that watch racing for the first time today, everybody that watches knows what loose is, but when you hear loose, that means the rear tires are losing grip, and the car is trying to spin around on you. The tires are actually trying to get loose to the point where you're turning right, and the car is trying to go left on you. So it's really a dangerous part of racing when the back end won't stick.
Well, there was a close call for Mark Martin on the backstretch as the car was coming off pit road. But, Buddy, this is where the driver, and you know it better than anybody, has to drive that race car as much with the throttle pedal off the corner as he does the steering wheel.
Well, you just can't overdrive it. If you do, you'll spin it around.
Anthony Lazzaro is in. It's his first Busch Series race. He's driving for that Cal Wells PPI team, making his stop. 63 is in as well. Mark Green, as we continue to run under the green flag. And look just behind that car on pit road at the world's largest war wagon. Mike Helton said this morning we may have to come up with a template for pit road boxes. Larry, that is bigger than my coach.
There is no question a rule is coming on pit boxes, but I guess it's really neat. It folds in and very compact to some degree when they go to haul it, but it's quite a unit. I saw Scott Pruitt's, who's the sister Winston Cup team of that team at Daytona. It was quite a unit.
It is. It's the Empire State Building of pit road boxes.
Hermie Sadler out off the pace right now in the 30, maybe coming to the pit road just as we speak.
He got in a little trouble last lap, buddy. Let's have a look at it from the aerial view. A little slip and slide up there in the corner, and here comes...
Oh, wow.
Wow, that was all the way off the racetrack.
Michael Rich going fast, 55, who has brand new tires.
And on the flat to beat that. I mean, he had to go up. He had run out of being able to stay on the low side, so he didn't do that to make it tough on Hermie. He just couldn't stay on the flat part of the racetrack, even with new tires.
So the Little Trees Chevrolet is in for Hermie Sadler. Jay Sauter has made his pit stop, and Elton Sawyer, one of the few Fords in this race, also making the stop. Bobby Hamilton Jr. comes down pit road. We are caution-free at 80 laps.
There's no question these top 5, Martin, both the Green brothers, Jeff Burton, Kenny Wallace, it's a little bit of a waiting game right now. You can bet when one comes, they're all going to come. And, boy, we almost had a bad wreck coming on the pit road right there. Too many trying to go in one hole.
There was contact there between Jason Leffler, the black car, the MBNA car, and the 74 of P.J. Jones. Randy LaJoy's also made his stop. And, boy, they're all jumbled up.
First of the leaders has made their commitment. Jeff Burton just hit pit road, so you got to believe the rest of them will not be far behind.
I was talking about Jason Leffler using a little bit of sheet metal a while ago. He's one of the finest sprint car midget drivers in the country, and he's in this big car with fenders on it. He don't mind leaning a little bit.
Now, this is tough because you have a lot of cars on new tires and a lot of cars out there with old tires, and there's a great speed disparity. And then you have cars trying to get in, slow down, and get into the pits. And you've got a real jam up there at turn 4.
This pit road really sneaks up on you right here, and you got to make sure and wave that hand and let people know you're fixing the pit. I mean, look at these guys, 2 trying to go to pit road and 4 trying to go around.
Bobby Hillen's been in. Here is in. Dick Trickle is in. And David Green, the second-place car. As you see here a lap ago, how things can get all jammed up. Mike Borkowski gets in the back of P.J. Jones. Here's another look at it. Traffic jam.
Yow.
This is where spotters communicate with each other, can let each other know they're fixing the pit as well.
All right, second-place car is in. Here's Ralph.
Well, David Green has come down pit road as John Fabian goes to work with the jack. They're planning on making a 4-tire change. No adjustments to the car. The loose condition was just those tires wearing off. Now, the one thing they are concerned about is the water temperature. It has climbed up to 240 degrees. The grill is completely clogged up with rubber. They only got part of it cleaned off, and it was a slow stop. And they are having some problems down here on their pit stop at the 34th.
Tony Raines has also been in.
You know, that was a problem in Daytona for the Chevrolets. The bottom part of the grill area there, and you can address that problem with fill up with rubber, and those cars are running hot down there.
Well, and I also got to think about he was running loose, and taping up the front end can make one run loose as well.
I think Mark Martin will be in this time. He has really slowed up in the backstretch, let a lot of cars go. Those were cars with fresh tires.
David Green has lost a tire as well. David Green didn't get a tire loose. It's rolling through turn 4 right now.
And it may pass him before he gets back to pit road. Here he comes, and there goes the wheel.
And not only that, the flagman's watching. He may have to throw
Caution is out. Caution is out.
Well, now, does Mark Martin make his stop? Glenn?
Well, Mike, I can't see if he's on. He's going to go on by. Yeah, here he goes right on by. That's the only thing he can do, because if the caution car comes by, picks up the guy's leading. So he will be still on the lead lap. So Mark will come back in next time. Here's Ralph on David Green.
Well, they had a bad air gun here on the 34, and so they've had to go back and change the rear tire on the left side. And now they have more problems as they're struggling to get the tire mounted up. So lots of problems here for the 34 of David Green. They're struggling to get the tire mounted up onto the rim. This is really costing the crew right here. This is really a bad break for David Green.
The AFG Glass Chevy was a contender to win and a leader here. Now here's Mark Martin coming around a lap before David Green lost this tire. Kevin LePage gets by, and whoa!
He has definitely been. I think his car's a little more than neutral, buddy.
Yeah, that was a little loose there.
And let's show you what happened. David Green had lost that wheel.
And cars just barely missing it as they go by, but the bad part is he had to come in on something. He was dragging part of that race car, the useful part of that race car, trying to get back to the pits.
All right, David Green has replaced that wheel and gone back out. And there you can see just a little bit of elongation there at the lug nut holes, indicating that wasn't on, and it just vibrated itself until it finally came off.
I mean, that's it. You know, these lug nuts torque up to about 70, 80, 90 pounds. You can get by with 3 or 4 tight, but if there's not that much, it'll eventually work 1 or 2 that's tight loose. And Buddy, probably what he was rubbing that could do the most damage would be the rear brake rotor. I'm going to say that would hurt him as much as anything.
Sure. And then the other thing I was watching was when he was wiggling that car back and forth trying to get in there, is all the damage you do. The tailpipes flatten out a lot because it'll drag a little bit as it goes down, and it really is hard on the race car to try to make it around here on 3 wheels, but he made it into the pits and back under speed again.
Well, all those drivers and crews that were holding their breath, here's the bad news. 7 of the drivers who had not stopped are on the lead lap, and everyone else is a lap down.
I mean, we talked about it for 20 laps. You know, there's no free lunches. Yeah, you can look like a hero, get in there early, and if it stays green, you've made a lot of ground up. But if the caution comes out, what you got now is just a few cars on the lead lap.
Trouble there on Phil Parsons coming to a halt. And they're trying to get cars in line. That's the reason for that. Not car trouble for Parsons, but to put him in line. Guess who one of those 7 cars is that's up there? Justin Labonte, who had been tracking Mark Martin there and had not made
Well,
a pit
when
stop.
Mark went in, he went by, and of course that put him in the lead lap.
All right, let's go back to leader Mark Martin's pit. Here's Glenn.
Ooh, guys, some news we didn't want to hear. Mark just radioed in and told them he smells smoke in the car. So that doesn't sound too good. Of course, they'll check it out when he comes in. Right now, crew chief Tony Lambert is still in consultation with the NASCAR official. They're trying to determine if indeed Mark is still leading the race. There was a lot of confusion when he came down pit road there and then didn't stop and went back out. NASCAR says he's still leading the race. They didn't think so, but they got other things on their mind too. Not only a regular pit stop, but also to find out where that smoke's coming from.
Well, he came back out after not stopping in the pits, and the pace car came out simultaneously. So they've stopped a few cars at start-finish here. They're going to sort this field out, and we'll be right back with you after this. Wrenchhead.com is your online automotive superstore. Millions of replacement parts, performance parts, and accessories, and free shipping. Wrenchhead.com. Parts online all the time. There is Mark Martin, who NASCAR reestablished as the race leader, and under this caution, the next time they came around, pit road was open, and Mark came onto pit road. Here's Glenn.
Yeah, guys, as I said, it was a routine pit stop. They told Mark evidently he was just smelling tire smoke. It could have been when he came on and off the racetrack so fast there. The stop was a pretty good one. I got it in about 17.5 seconds. It didn't look like the most graceful thing that I've ever seen, but I tell you what, they got him out in a hurry. Here's Ralph.
Well, they're working on David Green's number 34 again. They're trying to change the cap on the axle. That was one of the problems they had. They're trying to take the old one off so they can put the new one on. They've also gone ahead and pulled the new sheet off the windshield, and they've already gotten all the grime that had built up, the rubber deposits that had built up on the grill, trying to get that water temperature down.
So we'll check scoring here as you look at David Green's. Number 34, there may be but 7 cars on the lead lap. Mark Martin, the 37, that's Kevin Grubb, Ron Hornaday, Jeff Green, Justin Labonte, Mike Dillon, and Lyndon Amick. Those 7 cars right now are being posted on the lead lap. So at 92 laps, we've had our first caution of the day for the lost tire off David Green's car, and the game has changed. We'll be right back. Federal agent Lucky Vanis from bringing the bad guys to justice, and he's doing it in his high-speed, high-tech, big rig. Catch 18 Wheels of Justice every Wednesday night at 9, part of TNN's Action Wednesdays. And find out who has the dead man's gun this week. It's set in the Old West, it has big stars, and it's all part of TNN's Action Wednesdays. Check it out at 8 Eastern and Pacific, Wednesdays on TNN. Ralph?
Mike, this is the cap that we're talking about on the left rear of David Green. It sits on the axle just like this, and the tire goes up over it like that. Now, the problem here is that this has gotten all chewed up, so every time they go to change that left rear tire, they're going to have a whale of a time trying to get this tire up on there. They had to physically kick the tire into place with a man on both sides kicking that tire, trying to force it on there. They've been trying to shave this down to try to make that job easier, Mike.
All right, Ralph, now in front of leader Mark Martin, there are 4 cars on the tail end of the lead lap. Number 9, Jeff Burton, 25, Kenny Wallace, 57, Jason Keller, and 98, Elton Sawyer. All out there on the tail end of the lead lap in front of Mark Martin.
And these guys are in a catch-22. They got to run hard enough to try to stay out front in case a caution should come and let them go all the way back around to get behind the leader, but you can't run so hard you use your equipment up.
So there's 7 cars in line on the lead lap. And then there are 4 cars on the tail end of the lead lap in the outside lane as we get the restart. Leffler a little slow coming up the speed on the inside there. And those 4 cars get a little breakaway on Mark Martin. One of those is a threat to win this race, Jeff Burton for sure, and Kenny Wallace was very fast in practice. So those 4 now are hoping for a caution. That would give them the free pass all the way around.
Yeah, and you can see Mark Martin hard in the throttle right there. He's following Elton Sawyer in the 98 car at the moment, but he's trying to put these guys a lap down because he does realize that they have great cars.
Randy LaJoy, number 1, trying to get back on the lead lap, working his Bob Evans car hard against Mark Martin, and not going to get it this time. With Mark Martin.
Elton Sawyer just in front there working that 98 car as hard as he can. He does not want to go a lap down if he can help it.
Bouncing off the wall was Lyndon Amick off of turn 4. A lot of damage to the right side, but he continues. And let's get an update on Mark Martin's pit stop. Here's Glenn.
Well, Mike, I told you that Mark said he smelled a little smoke in the car. We talked to Tony Lambert. What the problem is when they put the exhaust pipes on the car, they didn't put a spacer or a shim between that and the chassis. And the pipes are really hot. They're burning the paint off the chassis floorboard. That's what Mark's smelling. So nothing that's going to hurt anything. The right front tire was down to the cord. The pit stop came at a great time. And I got to give a call to the pit crew. I told you it was 17.5 seconds. They saw my watch, came over, showed me theirs. They had it in about 16.5 seconds. So it was a great pit stop, and that's the reason I had to quit racing because I was always a second off.
Oh, bless your heart.
The worst thing you can do is tell a pit crew that their time was slower than it really was.
Let's show you from our Midas fast cam mounted on the wall. Go safely, go Midas. Watch Lyndon Amick as he gets off the wall, top of the screen. And the rest of the field kind of scatters like mice right there.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. That didn't help the toe end on that car. You can see the cement dust on the right front wheel of that car. It had to affect the handling of that race car. Even though he's continued on, it had to hurt him.
It could definitely knock the rear end over, bend ball joints, and definitely make it a handful to drive when you go up there and smack the wall, even though you just do it kind of sideways.
Well, he's still in 7th place. Justin Labonte, what a day he's having.
Oh, he is that. And I tell you, he's picking up great experience because once Mark Martin went by, he said, that's the best guy out here, he feels like. So he really got some first-hand instructions on how to get around this place.
102 laps complete. We're just past halfway in the Alltel 200 at Rockingham.
Now, Mike, he does not have to really abuse that car right now. Tim Peterwood's a lap down. These guys that are going by him right now are a full lap behind him. So, Justin, if he really takes care of the car and saves those tires a little bit, he can end up in the top 5 today.
Sure.
That would be some accomplishment.
If you joined us late, we've had only one caution flag at lap 86. David Green lost a tire after his pit stop, and caution came out. Unfortunately, most of the field had already made pit stops, and it left us with 7 cars on the lead lap and another 4 cars just out in front of the leader trying to stay on the tail end of the lead lap.
For the people that don't know who that rocket is, that 71 there, that's Kevin LePage. That's his own car. He's part owner of that race car.
Yep, brand new team. He and crew chief Steve Plattenberger are the owners, and decided to do a little bush racing this year. A lap ago, Mike McLaughlin and 96 there, Gus Wasson getting together.
Now, there was a classic example of Wasson turning down to get in the corner. He knew he wanted to be on the low side of the racetrack, and he didn't see the car coming and make contact on the inside car there.
Let's get you a little further back in the field. A lap down, Matt Kenseth is 12th, Michael Rich is 13th, Todd Bodine is 14th, McLaughlin's 15th, then LePage, Sauter, Roper, Chad Chaffin, and Randy LaJoie.
Here you see Jeff Burton tail in the lead lap, but because he has not had to contend with any traffic, he has pulled almost 6 seconds in front of Mark Martin. And right here, he's not having to fight nobody, so he's able to take care of his tires, take care of his car. What he needs, though, is he needs a caution flag right now.
Yeah, he's not going to catch back up to the field just being out in front. So for more on Jeff Burton, here's Glenn.
Well, Larry, they made a lot of changes on that car. Jeff didn't like it when the race started. They made a track bar adjustment and also a pretty significant airpin adjustment, about 1.5 pounds that they changed the thing. So they made a big chassis adjustment on that car. It looks like they definitely went the right way right now. So he can catch a break. He might be one of the only 2 cars that has something for Mark Martin. He and Jeff Green. Jeff Green also made some adjustments to his car.
His car looks just like Mark Martin's right now. He's running almost below that white line down there in turn 3 and 4.
The one thing he has going for him, though, no traffic around him. That's going to change here in a little bit. He'll get into lap traffic, and I think you'll see him pedal back toward Mark Martin.
So officially, 10 cars are on the lead lap at the Rock. 108 laps completed. Welcome back to Rockingham. There's some of the early pit stops. Pit road's been a busy place, but there's only been 1 stop for most of the contenders, and caution is out. Caution has just come out on the speedway here. At lap 113, there's debris on the front straightaway. That's the reason. And this will be a huge break for Jeff Burton, Jason Keller, and Kenny Wallace. They were on the tail end of the lead lap. Elton Sawyer had been lapped by Mark Martin. But those 3 drivers, Burton, Keller, and Wallace, get the free pass with this caution flag. Get to come all the way around.
Boy, I tell you, that is a huge break here. Get back in the lead lap. They're back in the battle here. Then instead of having 7 people in the lead lap, we've got quite a few now. So it's going to change the game plan.
That puts us at 10 cars on the lead lap. I almost believe we may see those guys come to pit road and get 4 fresh tires with about 70, 75 laps to go, because most of them's only used 1 set of their caution tires, so they still got 2 sets sitting there.
And chances are, Larry, on fuel, most of them would need another stop anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's definitely right. They could run 100 laps. Looked like a little bit of cat and mouse game there, but Mark Martin finally decides maybe I need to come get me 4 Snuggies too.
Snuggies. That sounds so cute.
And it feels cute too, them guys.
You know, it's funny, though, that you can actually go further on gas than you can on tires.
Oh,
here.
absolutely. You try to go to a full fuel stop here, you'll be running on the rims.
All right, Ron Hornaday is in. Kevin Grubb, Justin Labonte, and with the leader, here's Glenn.
Mark Martin brings it in, guys. Like Larry said, this you get those 4 Snuggies, as you put it, and also it ensures that they can make it the rest of the way. Tony Lambert told me he thought they could, but this ensures that they can. 4 fresh tires. They're not making any changes to this car. It was perfect. He's down and away. Here's Ralph.
Ron Hornaday's tires are mounted up. He has gotten fuel. He took 4 fresh tires. They made no adjustments to this 3 car. He was a little tight going into the corners, gentlemen, a little loose coming out, but his tire wear has been very good. The longer that car runs, the better it gets. Boy, Larry, as you know, that could be a big key here at Rockingham.
It really can. A lot of times a car that's really good in the beginning of a run, it won't be good 40, 50 laps into it. So it's good to hear that driver say, I think it's coming to me, which means the balance is getting better on the car as you run it.
Mike Dillon's also made a stop. They're posting Dillon on the lead lap here at lap 115. We're showing 10 cars on the lead lap. This is one of them, Jeff Green in the Nesquik car, and now the lap down cars are making their stop. So it's only the second caution of the day. It's for debris on the front straightaway at lap 114. All of these cars stopping are 1 or more laps back. This is from 11th place on down.
I was going to say 10 cars on the lead lap, and then everybody else pits this time. And this is a good rule. NASCAR's done this for several years. It keeps a car from being 2 or 3 or 4 laps down from being on pit road and interfering with a car that's on the lead lap.
That's 92. They're making a stop. Jimmy Johnson. And stops being concluded, and everybody fighting for a position on the pit lane there. And having to stab the brake was Phil Parsons. And everybody gets back out as we look from the helicopter.
Just a few years ago, look at this tire right here on the outside. It's making its way back across. These cars are missing it as they go out. It's back over where they can get it and get it out of harm's way.
Tony Raines there, 33, completing his stop. And Tim Feedaway back out. In Stanley 36, there's Casey Atwood. We'll sort out the order for you when we come back. 116 of 197 laps are now complete at the Rock. They have just waved the green flag to restart the Alltel 200. Mark Martin out front of Jeff Green, trying to break away from traffic with Ron Hornaday in number 3.
Mike, let's give him a call. I tell you, the second time he's in a Busch Grand National race this year in that 3 car, and this reputation that goes with this number 3 car is 2-time national champion the past 2 years. But Ron Hornaday, one of the most gifted drivers in the whole United States, and he's giving this car quite a ride today.
Tough break for Buckshot Jones. They've determined, NASCAR has determined that he passed too soon and is going to get a stop-and-go penalty.
That can really hurt you because we talked about it earlier. You got to come all the way down pit road, maintain the pit road speed, stop at your sign and go, but you're going to lose probably over a lap doing that.
Upper left of your screen, the Napa Field Standing Update. Brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. We keep America running. 121 complete. 76 laps to go. That's the number of laps that Mark has led so far today.
Jeff Green's actually catching the 60 of Mark Martin, but we've watched this show before. I mean, Mark Martin will only run as fast as he needs to at this point in the tire cycle here. He's not going to lay on those tires too hard, so if Jeff Green comes up there, just let him go.
Well, he knows the way this race is win. It looks like it's not having a lot of cautions, and these tires may have to carry him to the end, 70-something laps down. And again, he knows he can't use them up right now, and I'm sure Jeff Green's got to be thinking about that too. I need something for the end.
Tell you who's moved up the most spots since this restart. Justin Labonte restarted 10th. He's moved up to 8th as Buckshot Jones serves his stop-and-go penalty. Glenn?
Well, I got kind of a question to pose for Larry. For all you guys, I guess, looking at Jeff Green kind of catching Mark Martin a little bit there, I'm just wondering if that's part of Martin's strategy. Maybe he backs off a little bit. Jeff catches him, sees he's catching him, starts running the car harder, and uses up his tires a little earlier, and Mark's saving his all along. Martin's pretty smart. I wouldn't put that past him.
Well, I'm going to let Larry answer it first, and then I'll tell you what a driver feels like after a guy just goes and lets you pass him, and about 10 laps later, he drives back by you in the middle part of the corner where you have the most stress on your car. He just drives by you and distance you. That takes a wind right out of your sail, and I said it first. I was going to pass to you here.
And there's no question. You've got some people up on the spotting stand that's pretty sharp, that's been racing for a long time, and they can tell you, hey, his car looks like it's not working somewhere, and you can make it where you make him run there and again, use his equipment up.
Fourth place battle here. 37, Kevin Grubb.
Kevin Grubb driving the wheels off number 37 car there, the green car just in front of Elton Sawyer there. He is driving that car very, very hard, and he's posted right now in 4th spot.
He's not battling Sawyer. Sawyer is one of those cars that got lapped. Elton is the first car lapped down in 11th. just ahead of Todd Bodine in 12th and Matt Kenseth.
But Elton don't know that. He's still racing very, very hard, trying to get by him and get back in the lead lap if he possibly can. But he's got a good ways to go yet.
Mark Martin has 23 races here at Rockingham, 16 of them in this Jack Roush number 60. 9 wins, 13 top 5 in 16 starts. Let's go to his pit. Here's Ralph.
Mike, I'm with Tony Lambert, Mark Martin's crew chief. Tony, we're wondering about Mark's strategy. Is he letting Green reel him in so that he uses up Green's tires and then you can pull away from him then after?
Well, we're trying to save the tires on the Winn-Dixie Ford. But right now, we've just got to, everybody's going to run hard as they can run, trying to catch us, and we're going to try to keep our tires as cool as we can. If he wants to go by, we're going to let him go by.
In other words, Ralph, you're right.
Well, I will tell you this. He hadn't closed in any at all. I think he's just sitting right there. He says, 60 car Mark Martin knows how to get around here. I can sit right with him.
129 laps complete, 10 cars on the lead lap. Mark Martin leads Jeff Green, Ron Hornaday, Kevin Grubb, and Jason Keller, the first 5. And if you're looking for action on Wednesdays, you've come to the right place. There's Dead Man's Gun, 18 Wheels of Justice, and the Magnificent 7. Don't miss TNN's Action Wednesdays starting at 8 Eastern and Pacific time. Mark Martin holds the field by half a second. Jeff Green tried to run him down, didn't have a lot of success. There's the distance from the Winn-Dixie Ford back to the Nesquik Chevrolet. Ron Hornaday in 3rd. Jason Keller is the 4th place car. 10 cars on the lead lap. And here's a look at Keller and his Excedrin Chevy. And our onboard telemetry.
I've been watching this telemetry while we was at break. See, this is going off into turn 1. He almost peaked out about 7,500 RPMs, falls down to 6,000 in 1 and 2. And here he starts to creep back up again. This is going down the back straightaway, up to about 7,500. So he loses about 1,400 RPMs in the corner. This is back to 3 and 4, back on the throttle. See the miles per hour gaining as well. Down the front stretch, turns about 200 or 300 more RPMs on the front stretch. That's because the front stretch is longer. So that's sometimes a compromise on what gear you pull.
And it has a lot to do with the way you come off turn 4. You have a lot more racetrack to use and you don't bog it down. And turn 2 is very abrupt. You turn hard left to get off turn 2. Turn 4, you just kind of use the racetrack and you have a lot more to use. So it's more RPMs up out of the corner.
What a difference between what we saw at Daytona when there was only about 300 RPM difference anywhere on the racetrack.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I would have thought they maybe would have lost more RPMs in that in the corner, but they keep these little old Busch cars wound up pretty good going through the corner, even though the speeds go down quite a bit.
Have a look here at Jeff Burton, 7th place, trying to move up. One of those cars that benefited greatly from the caution flag. 10 wins in 194 starts.
Wow.
For Jeff Burton. Let's check with Glenn.
Well, Mike, he did benefit from that caution flag, but they had a little problem in the pits. He came in and they only got to change 2 tires when he stopped the first time because they had an air gun malfunction. The switch that flips it from forward to reverse broke off, and so the gun just jammed. They had to bring Jeff back in, so that put him at the very back of the cars in the lead lap. He's moved his way up to 7th now. Again, they made a track bar adjustment and added another half pound of air to the right front. He just cannot get the car to turn in the center of the corner the way he wants to. So he doesn't think that he might has anything for Mark Martin, but his lap times right now are only about 500 to a tenth of a second slower than Martin. So he's hoping he can at least get up into the top 5.
Well, he just passed Kenny Wallace, and Kenny Wallace has been one of the quicker cars, the orange number 25. He just went by him and made that spot, and I think Burton has a pretty decent car right now. Seems very quick.
Well, a number of cars on that lead lap are caught in and amongst heavy traffic. That big pack goes past.
You know, some places, if you only get 2 tires changed, you'd be okay not changing another. But this is one place where you got to have 4 tires. It's like tomorrow, the strategy on which to go.
Justin Labonte was in a tight pack, and sorry, Larry, almost got run down off the racetrack. But he was trying to gain ground through some of those lap cars.
That's the nice part of being 19 years old. He does not know what he can't do. You can't do that and not hit.
But the only way you learn is do it, and then you find out you can't.
Great job there. Most people would hit the inside wall. He was really crossed up off turns 2.
He hangs on to 9th place. Anthony Lazaro makes a pit stop. And McDonald's number 97. They're going to put right sides at least on his car. Under green. 144 laps complete. 53 to go.
What I was saying tomorrow in the Winston Cup race, our strategy is pretty easy. If you run more than 5 laps and the caution comes out, you put 4 more tires on it.
At how much a set, Larry?
About $1,500 a set. So maybe Richard won't be counting just exactly how many sets we use.
I'm glad that's not. You're making the calls, but you're not the guy with the hand on the hip pocket holding that wallet.
Buddy Baker has been.
Wait a minute. Justin Labonte hit the number 2 corner. He hit the outside wall. He'll have to come in the pits. He hit very hard coming off the corner over there.
Well, he's had a tremendous race so far.
Look at the right side tires there. You can see the concrete dust and the abrasion there on the side of the car where he got in the wall pretty hard.
Also, Dick Trickle is in for an extended stay with problems on the number 5. Here's what happened to Justin Labonte. Watch also for the 20 of Mike Borkowski. An AT&T car on the outside. Oops.
Borkowski definitely got into it pretty hard. He just can't. Oh, buddy, he hit hard. And that corner over there, I teach driving down here. Let me tell you something. You can get a little careless over there, and you better come in and get tires and make sure you have that car where you can continue. He hit hard enough to bend everything on the front end of that car then.
So we stay green, though, at 147 laps, 50 to go, with Mark Martin leading. Jeff Green, Ron Hornaday, and Jason Keller. Rockingham, Mark Martin leading the Alltel 200 by 7/10 of a second over Jeff Green, Ron Hornaday, Jason Keller, Kevin Grubb having a great day in 5th. Jeff Burton, Kenny Wallace, Lyndon Amick on the lead lap. 8 cars on the lead lap. Now Justin Labonte a couple laps ago had a hard hit in turn 2. Ralph has an update.
Mike, they're really worried about the fact they think they might have bent the rear end on that race car. They think they might have shoved it over to the left a little bit. Keeping an eye on Justin. His father, Terry, is in the Winston Cup garage on top of his hauler, and his grandfather, Bob, is working in his pit.
A family affair for the Labontes here.
No question, as hard as he hit that wall, I'm sure he bent rear end and probably ball joints. I'm sure it's driving a tremendous amount different than it was, buddy.
Well, you can see that it's not tracking straight. It's actually got a little camber to it as it goes down straightaway. It's running a little dog, what we call dog legging down through there. It's running the off center a little bit, so he heard it.
NASCAR timing and scoring presented by MCI WorldCom. And I believe, yes, Jeff Purvis has just taken his car to the garage area. You see the drivers that have dropped a few spots. Justin Labonte mostly since restarts. Now, these cars have to weigh a certain minimum, and they are limited how much weight can be on each side of the car, but not how high or how low that weight needs to be. Now, Jimmy Johnson, number 92, brought 2 cars here to Rockingham. And Larry, this is a pretty innovative way to save weight in a certain spot. As we have a look inside, get a look at the gear shifter and the shifter ball on Jimmy Johnson's car.
Well, you said it, Mike. You know, there's no rules about where you put the weight, but there's no question that's pretty unique right there. I'd be a little afraid that might be a little too light, but you want to put the weight as low in the car as you can get it. It's called keeping the center of gravity low, and that'll make a car go around a corner a lot better. Certainly. Low and to the left. That's what we preach. You know, we do have to weigh a certain amount on the right side, but we want to do it with lead in the frame rail, which is low.
And the one thing that was amazing about that's an aluminum ball that they were drilling in there. That somebody had a little too much time on their hands.
I'm afraid so, and somewhere he's going to come down pit road shaking that thing out the window, because that's a little bit too light, I think.
That was pretty innovative. Jimmy's having a pretty good run here today for Alltel, who is the race sponsor. He's in 23rd position. 39 laps to go, and Jeff Green has now fallen 1.5 seconds behind Mark Martin. As we watch third place Ron Hornaday in car number 3, and Matt Kenseth, who had one of the quickest cars here earlier, climbing from 28th into the top 10, but he is now 10th. He was one of the drivers that pitted, and then the caution flag came out, so it caught him 1 lap down.
Hornaday there on the inside, you could see the car itself losing a little traction there. as Matt Kenseth is a lap down, but he's much quicker than Hornaday as they head into the corner.
I tell you, Ron Hornaday, he drives a car so deep in the corner, but his car is really working good. But Tony, you're in those guys the last 2 years with Dale Jr. always had a good package here, and it looks like it's falling right in line with Ron Hornaday. But, you know, one thing that I'm sure that Ron's Hornaday's crew chief is having to stay on him is about don't drive that car so deep in the corner. Try to beat these guys off. He's just weaving and working all that lap traffic.
That's Kenny Irwin Jr. there in the green nose car. They have a new paint job for the 42 this year, new driver.
Yeah, it's a distinctive color.
Yeah.
36 laps to go. Mark Martin ahead of Jeff Green, Ron Hornaday, Jason Keller, Jeff Burton, Kevin Grubb, and Kenny Wallace. Those cars are all on the lead lap. Now that Lyndon Amick has gone a lap down, leaving 7 on the lead lap. 1 lap down, Lyndon Amick, Todd Bodine, Matt Kenseth, Elton Sawyer, Kevin LePage, Randy LaJoie, Jay Sauter, Mike McLaughlin, and Mike Dillon are 1 lap back. Looks like, Buddy, they may have to fill in another one of those white squares there on Mark Martin's hood that denotes all 40 of his Busch Series wins.
Yeah, and what's happening right now is he has such a great car that he's really running the racetrack and not the competition. Anytime you do that, your line's much smoother, and it really takes care of the car and the tires so much better because he's not having to jump in and out of traffic. He's racing the racetrack and he's running his groove. And I tell you right now, he looks unbeatable.
Well, he just continues to pull away further and further from Jeff Green, so I'm sure Tony Lambert, his crew chief right now, with, you know, about 30-something laps to go, just saying be smooth, work your lap traffic, pick and choose when you go by him, and he'll give him intervals, you know, as he gain in or lose him on Jeff Green, and all he wants to do is just maintain a certain lead here.
This is interesting here. Matt Kenseth in the 17, Ron Hornaday in the 3. Now the second line earlier in the race, you couldn't run up there. You'd go right to the rear. Right now he's holding his own in the higher part of the racetrack, so the outer groove is getting much quicker now.
For more on third place Ron Hornaday, here's Ralph.
Mike, I just spoke to Jerry Kinnan, the crew chief for Ron Hornaday. The car, remember, has been very good on long runs. They say just about 10 laps after they put the tires on, the car starts to get progressively better. Right now, they say Ron is just laying low. He's not working the car hard. They're very comfortable with the way the car is handling. They have made no adjustments to air pressures or the chassis of the car. All they've done is put 4 tires on every time they pitted. So right now, they feel like they're going to be very strong as this race progresses.
Hornaday's in third, 5.8 seconds off the lead and 4.3 seconds away from second place, Jeff Green. It is Mark Martin out front with 31 laps to go. Week, witness to the execution. See it Thursday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific, right here on TNN. Mark Martin has 65% of his Busch Series starts at Rockingham in the top 10. Harry Gant finished 64% of his starts in the top 10. Top 5 finishing positions, but the fellow with the best top 5 percentage, Dale Earnhardt, 13 of 16 starts, 81%. Top 5 finishes in Busch Series starts here.
Strong.
Having a look back, you saw Mark Martin, the leader, followed by the 33 of Tony Raines, who's in 26th place, and the 10 of Jeff Green in second. Now there's Raines. Next to be the 55 of Michael Rich in 16th position, and the 66 of Todd Bodine, who is the 8th place car, 1 lap back. Lyndon Amick in 9th place, 1 lap down. And he's followed there in the running order by the 96 of Gus Wasson. Wasson there is 34th. The 3 of Ron Hornaday is the 3rd place car. The 17 of Matt Kenseth, 1 lap down in 10th. Then the 57 of Jason Keller, the 4th place car. And 21 is Mike Dillon. He is 2 laps down in 17th. And the 50 flying along there is Tony Roper. He is 40th, but he just got on a fresh set of tires. And he's moving quickly. There's Anthony Lazzaro, who also has new tires, the McDonald's car. He is 35th. And the 63 comes up next. That's Mark Green in 63, and he is in 27th place. The 00 of Buckshot Jones served the penalty, so he is down in 36th position. The 74 of P.J. Jones is 37th. So, yeah, they're racing for position. And then the 9 of Jeff Burton, who is the 5th place car on the lead lap, followed by the 82 Dave Steele. Then Adam Petty in 45 comes up, and Petty is 29th. The 5 car of Dick Trickle spent a lot of time in the pits. He is 42nd, the last car running. 37 of Kevin Grubb, having a great day today. He is in 6th place. Then the 98, 11th place Elton Sawyer. And the 77 of Chad Chaffin in 18th place, 2 laps down. And the 1 of Randy LaJoy, who is 1 lap down, in 12th. Then you'll see Bobby Hamilton Jr. in 19th, 2 laps back. And the number 71 of Kevin LePage, 2 laps back in 13th. Kenny Wallace, the 7th place car, number 25, on the lead lap. And then the 44 of Justin Labonte, who has fallen off the lead lap after banging the wall. He's now in 30th position, battling Jason Leffler there, the number 18. Leffler is 20th, 3 laps back. And there's Kenny Irwin, number 42. Irwin is 31st, 4 laps off the pace. Then Casey Atwood in 27, and the 8 of Bobby Hillen. Hillen is in 21st. And Atwood is back in 32nd spot. The 43 of Jay Sauter is 14th. The 36 of Tim Feedaway. The 48 of Mike McLaughlin is 15th. And the 30 of Hermie Sadler. And Sadler is 22nd. Back up front, you're with Mark Martin, who has 16 laps to his 11th, perhaps, Rockingham victory. Yeah, now 3 abreast down into the first corner as they jockey for position with just 12 laps to go. Mark Martin's the leader, 1.3 seconds ahead of Jeff Green. Ron Hornaday is 3rd. And how about Jason Keller in 4th? His last top 5 finish was his win last August at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So a great day for Keller. Jeff Burton is 5th. Kevin Grubb, Kenny Wallace. The lead lap cars, 7 of them. Then Todd Bodine, Lyndon Amick, and Matt Kenseth. It looked as if Tony Raines and Lyndon Amick got together. Let's see.
That's these 2 guys right there as they come off the corner.
Just a little nudge.
Well, actually, he just started off the corner and didn't realize there was a car on the right-hand corner there, and that happens a lot here at Rockingham.
10 to go.
Yeah, these guys been out there with 70-something laps on these tires. They pitted around 1 lap 15, 116. That means they've got to get 82 laps out of these tires. They have already run that far at the first part of the race, as you remember. And here we see Bobby Hillen smoking here.
And he gets the black flag from NASCAR, so he'll have to pull in. Tough break for Hillen, who's running in 22nd spot.
I'm sure these cars are not driving very good right now, but it's kind of like you got what you got.
Now he's got to get to pit road, and he's up in that top lane. Can't get down to the bottom just yet.
Looking at Bobby Hillen, about 7,000's all he turned down that front straightaway. He knows he's got to come in. There's no point in really running a fast lap right now. The car is smoking really bad. If you're coming up with the sun right in your eyes going in turn 1 there, that car really poses a problem. NASCAR did a good thing there.
I think he's coming in now because he's running laps for nothing because NASCAR just gave him the black flag with a white X. That means you can keep running if you want, but we're not scoring you no more.
So Hillen comes to pit lane with 7 laps to go. And he was 3 laps back at the time. Well, going to put up the sign, welcome to Markingham. Mark Martin.
You know, it looks like he has it, Mike, but I got to tell you something. And you know this, anybody that's ever been to a race, it's not over until you get the checkered flag. I've had some weird things happen when it looked like I had the race in the bag. Just things coming off the corner, all of a sudden hit a little bit of oil or anything.
Well, you saw him wiggle off turn 2, and we started seeing him wiggle when he had this many laps on his tires. And the worst problem he's got is right out in front of him, looks like half the field there as far as lap traffic. So he's got that to contend with as well.
He has a 2-second lead on Jeff Green. Now that's just about the distance from turn 1 to turn 2. But Mark is not going to be able to be content and sit behind this traffic. He's got to go.
The great part he has right now is the flagman's working with him, and everybody in that group in front of him realizes the leader's coming. Now, whether they give him the room or not, that's another story, but they know he's there. And he really does not have to press the issue because he's not really being challenged right now.
Yeah, but Jeff Green's closing in. Look at it, buddy, top of the screen. If he can get through some of these lap cars that Mark is having trouble with, well, can he do it in 5 laps? There's the relationship. First on the left, second on the right side of your screen. Ooh, what a pack of lap cars in between.
That same group that Mark just having to weed through now, those 5 cars separate. As you see there, they go into turn 3. So I don't know. I don't think there's enough laps here with 4 to go.
3 of those cars stay up high, and Jeff Green's car is just not getting the run off the corner he needs.
Well,
buddy.
You're riding with Jeff Green, and just in front of him, you can see all the lap traffic.
Trouble out of turn 2. One car, Tim Fedewa, has hit the wall. Here he comes down the backstretch smoking. No caution. See if Fedewa can get his car down and off the racetrack without incident.
He went up and hit the wall again. He couldn't steer it. It don't look like a lot of cars coming his way.
Something's wrong on the back of the car. He cannot control it. I don't know whether it's a flat tire or maybe a track bar on that car, but something's wrong with it. The back end's uncontrollable.
He is going to come to a stop at the outside wall with 2 laps to go.
He just couldn't get the pit road was the biggest problem. The cars coming just couldn't get him. But there you see him going down the front stretch.
We are still under green as Fedewa bumps and lumps and rumbles his way, and now makes a left turn off the racetrack out front of traffic. Wow, white flag for Mark Martin, and Tim Fedewa will get down to the apron and try to keep it off the racetrack.
He almost pulled right up in front of Mark Martin on this white flag lap.
Wasn't anything he could do. The rear end housing in that car is just floating right now.
Here comes Green down the back straightaway, buddy. He's got underneath 1 lap car. There's 1 car separating him from Mark Martin. Martin had to lift for Fedewa. Green's got a chance.
You're a good announcer. I got to tell you, though, Mark Martin has won this race.
Martin had to lift for Fedewa, took away a lot of his momentum. He got it back, though, before he got to the checkered flag. Wow, close for Mark Martin, but it is Markingham. It's his 11th victory in the NASCAR Busch Series at this track and his 41st career Busch Series win. Ralph?
Well, Tony Lambert, congratulations. He gave you a bit of a scare there at the end. It looked like maybe the car was getting a little loose. Was that becoming a problem?
Well, not everybody was getting that way, so we were hoping everybody was getting that way, and we were watching, and everything just worked out our way. It's been a good weekend for us Winn-Dixie Ford Taurus. These guys have been great. We had 2 pit stops in the 16 seconds. For a Busch team, that's pretty good. We haven't got but 2 guys off a cut team, and that means a lot. And I just want to say to the wives and stuff at home, here we go again.
He's going to victory lane. Larry McReynolds, thanks for joining us. Good luck tomorrow.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys. I always enjoy being up here and saw a well of a race. But Mark Martin's where he's been a lot of times here at Rockingham.
For Mark Martin, 7th win from the pole, 11th Rockingham win in 24 starts. And we'll talk to him in victory lane after this. Mark Martin led 151 laps today. And Glenn, he's won 6 of the last 9 Busch Series races here. This place truly is Markingham.
Oh, it is. We're talking about how we're going to rename this racetrack Markingham for you. 6 of the last 9, 11 overall Busch victories at this racetrack. Looks like you had a pretty good race car today.
Man, this car was just fantastic. The Goodyear tires worked great, and the Winn-Dixie team just prepared this 2000 Taurus. We just pretty much went off of last year's notes, and it seemed to be pretty much on the money. So we got to try to do this again tomorrow.
Well, that would be nice, certainly. Another thing I want to give credit to, that first pit stop you guys made. I understand that's the first time these guys had ever worked together as a unit on the pit crew, and man, what a great stop.
Tony Lambert has been in charge of this thing last year and this year, and he's just done a great job of putting together people, and they've practiced, and we're ready to go racing. This is my last go-round in Busch racing, and, you know, we want to win as many as we can. This will be our last year to do it.
Mark, we all know that you had surgery during the offseason. I saw you were a little gingerly getting out of the car there. This is the first real test. This is a real driver's racetrack, not where you're sitting and riding like at Daytona. How'd you go today?
I feel real good, but I want to be careful getting out because I could get a little excited. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I'll try I don't mind throwing it out tomorrow if we win, but I don't want to throw it out today.
Did this teach you anything for tomorrow's race?
No, these cars have about 250 or 300 less horsepower, and I have a knack for getting them around here with less power, but when you add all that horsepower in there, it becomes an additional challenge for me to keep the back tires from spinning, and you know, I really struggle with that. We won here last year, and we ran well here in the fall, but to get one hooked up like this with all that horsepower is quite a challenge for me.
Well, they've overcome the challenge, as I said, 11 times. Guys, let me put in perspective just about what 11 victories at one racetrack is. Mark Martin's 11 victories at Rockingham are more than anybody else in the Busch Series has in career victories that was in the race today, with the exception of Randy LaJoie. He has 12. Mark's won 11 times at Rockingham.
And 30 times elsewhere. Wow. 41 career victories for Mark Martin in the Busch Series. The winner today, and you notice there won't be many of those blue ovals. There are very few Fords in the field. His teammate Jeff Burton there in 5th. Great day for Keller. Ron Hornaday, Kevin Grubb, a great finish. There's a look down through 20th position, and that caution flag early after more than half the cars had pitted kept there from being a lot more cars on the lead lap than there were at the end of this one. And a look back through the final runners in the field. Very few retirees.